Stevie Collier, and today we are honored to have the wonderful, the 7-foot tall giant Andy Peliquin, who is the author of T-Rex Sex.
For dummies.
Yeah, for dummies. It's his new prehistoric erotica. And it's right after. Well, I was about to make a really dark joke. Not family friendly, not Rebekah friendly. So we definitely can't go there.
Not Rebekah. Is there anything not Rebekah friendly? Like, are there any limits?
So this would be Rebekah friendly if it was just like me, her, and you, but not live on YouTube.
Ah, I understand. Yeah.
I got to be careful. But Andy, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. You know, it's been a crazy week. I've spent basically every waking moment, you know, doing launch stuff. Excuse me. You know, setting up ads, testing ads, trying new things, monitoring and promoting and all of that. So it's been fun. I haven't gotten much writing, and I've been doing some light editing, which I'll finish up tomorrow. Editing on Steel and Valor, the third book in the series. So I'll have that pretty much ready to send out to ARC readers and get that ready for the upload. I think the release is end of October.
When did this release?
So Shields and Shadow released on September 3rd, 2 days ago on Tuesday.
And it's already got. How does it already have 26 reviews though?
Well, so I had the ARC readers post it to the paperback. I published the paperback while the Kindle was still in pre-order, and they could post it there.
Great idea. You know what? I feel like you've done that before.
I have done that before.
Dang it. There's so much to this business. It, like I always tell everybody, it's not the writing for me, it's all the moving pieces, because I am at my atoms a very unorganized person. But I will say, after being an author for 2.5 years, I am way more organized now. I actually use Excel spreadsheets. So
amazing.
Yeah, my desk is not a crap hole either. So
mine is a little bit. Well, look, all right. So I'm gonna tilt my webcam over here.
You're wearing, dude. You have a nice office. Wow, got a printer over there.
So yeah, all of this over here is just like all my little junk and stuff. Oops, that way. There we go. See, it's all like the things that I use on a pretty daily basis. Like this is the headphones that I work out in, or my this is when I go driving. It's, you know, they're Bluetooth headphones, my MP3 player, wallet, smartwatch, things like that. Stuff that I don't use. But then if you look over here, see, this actually looks pretty neat and organized.
Dude, like that's a nice office. You got wooden floors.
Yeah, it's my headphone stand. That it's a 3 USB splitter. Whatever book I'm reading, phone, my leather-bound notebook for taking notes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if we're doing an unveiling or like check out the office, I work in the living room, and yeah, let me just show you my junk. Yeah, just let me pull down my pants now. So that is my gaming keyboard. Oh, that's kind of weird, and that's trash because I just had protein pancakes. How the hell am I supposed to do this? Yeah. So my Diet Sprite. I have my index cards because I've been doing Japanese. I have a note from Lisa.
Oh, that's adorable.
Yeah. She's for a living, she manages a cookie decorating bakery. This is my gaming mic. Have my little Boba Fett flash drive, which saved my computer, incidentally, and just tons of note cards. Is my phone. Oh, and my swords. Got a Daredevil thing up there. She's got all her Daredevil pops. Those are my books. And if you look, that is Wackadoodle up there, the gnome, on top of the books.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and one more thing.
There's Spartacus, right?
Spartacus. He's always by me, no matter what. Even so, now he has this habit of oh yeah, look at this. Anytime you move something, there's the little devil right there. He's already trying to F shit up right now. That's Roswell. But Yeah, it's not. I was talking to Jonathan Yanez yesterday, and it's just like other people. Oh, fudge. Other people see us as these rock stars, but it's really not glamorous when you're working.
Wait. People see us as rock stars, Stevie?
Yes, that's how I got so many chicks. Honestly though, if you go to the club, like I would try
Is
to.
Lisa in the room right now when you said that?
No way.
Okay, exactly.
She went to the gym. No way.
That's the only reason that Stevie can say stuff like that.
No, dude, she's got like your personality. She'd call me out on my shit. Seriously. But no, but like it doesn't work on a certain type of girl. Like if you go to the club and you tell them you're an author, they'll say, "Oh, you're poor." That's what a girl told me one time. I was like, "Fuck you." Oh God, it made me so mad. And I'm a calm person. I'm a happy person.
All right, calm, no. Happy, maybe. But
okay, calm in the way that
you calm.
I would say, like I'm like a chihuahua. I'm jittery, but I'm nice to people. But I don't know. That made me mad. I don't like being told that I was poor. Just because I was an author, and it let me know, like, is that the stigma that people see of authors now? And that I hope that's going to change though, as K-books, we're still in the very forefront of Kindle books, in my opinion. Yeah. So we're seeing this a surgence of Indian written books and stuff, but that is neither here nor there. That's for another podcast. We're here to talk about you, Andy, and all your 7-foot glory.
Well, we're here to talk about a lot of different things, but Shields and Shadow will be one of them. But why don't you tell me something cool that happened to you this week, Stevie?
Dude, let me talk about it. How many people do we have on? Just 3 today? Where is everybody? Or am I looking at the wrong one?
No, we got 3, but it's the 3 awesome ones.
Oh, okay. Well, that's all that matters. Hey, Rajin. Hey, Anita. And I think that's Angel, right? Holly Mistletoe is Angel.
That's Kelly.
Kelly. Sorry. I also need to share the link. So, Twit at the bar. Yeah, no, dude. She was. So what happened? That's cool for me. I've been talking to Jonathan. We've been running through story ideas. Andy, you had the right idea to talk to Jonathan. Between the two of you, I think I have a really good idea for another book. Something I'm really excited about. I have my other 2 businesses that I do besides writing books they're flourishing. So very grateful for that. I've been spending a lot more time on those. Something exciting. The most exciting thing is, so I just found out today my mom does not have breast cancer. So that made my day.
That is awesome, man.
That was wonderful. So 2 cancer scares in like 3 months is like, it will
sort of the limit.
Yeah, it will. It feels like you're eating sand. It just destroys you on the inside. But something less depressing. Japanese class is going well. I got 100 on my first quiz. And
100%.
Hi.
So I've been watching Death Note.
And what do you think?
He talks percentage all the time. 7% this. When he's talking about how much he suspects Raito as Kira.
Oh, you're talking about L?
Yeah, whenever he talks about that, he talks in percentages. So he's like, I suspect him only 2%, 9%.
Oh, yeah. What do you think? Do you like it?
I liked it right up until the ending. And then the ending, I was like, no.
The ending's weird. The ending's very weird. Right now, I'm watching Hunter x Hunter with Lisa. And I have to say, watching it the second time, I will say that is my favorite anime, Hunter x Hunter. So,
okay.
But that's good. Yeah. So Japanese class is going well. I'm advanced. I'm an advanced, point, but I'm learning so much. But I could talk about that for hours. So that is my cool thing. So yeah, Andy, what about your cool thing?
I mean, so aside from the book launch, which is always awesome, hitting the bestseller tag in the first day, that was epic. Something I totally didn't expect. But
that's your first time?
Yeah, on the first day.
Ooh,
yeah, very cool. And I actually got an author ranking for about 24 hours. I was number 98 in fantasy authors on Kindle. Sales ranking dropped a bit today, so I no longer have a ranking. But it was nice to be back there. But something cool is I started this book that my brother gave me. It's called Travels with Herodotus, and it's basically a Polish reporter who read this book by these histories by Herodotus as he was traveling around, and it was it's interesting to see his experiences around the world. So it's my first nonfiction or sort of creative nonfiction book in like forever. So I'm enjoying it.
Rebekah, are you smoking a cigarette? She's like the perfect cigarette smoker. She's even got the wide fingers. Like I can't even do it with a pencil. I feel just awkward.
I don't know.
That wasn't too bad. I'm sorry, Andy. Who is Herodotus?
Herodotus is a historian, and he's not very well known. Like he wrote, I think, just like one book of histories, and there's very little known about him. But he's got some really interesting stuff, and just this Polish journalist found this book by him, these histories, really interesting, and so it's a story about all of his travels while reading this book.
So
my brother,
sorry,
no, I was gonna say my brother gave it to me. We did a book exchange where I gave him Kings of the Wild, and he gave me this one.
Oh, he won. I'm kidding. Great choice, though. Great choice. That's a completely opposite trade right there. It's like,
oh, absolutely.
It's like trading Abra for a Pikachu, I guess. Never mind. That did not translate over to Pokemon well.
No.
I'm showing my age. Hey, I have white in my beard now, by the way. That was new.
Yeah.
Still checking the fro downstairs, nothing yet. But on the face, yes. And you know what? I wasn't as sad as I thought. I thought it was kind of manly. The thing is, they stick out more because it's a more like, what is that, dense hair? It's a little bit thicker.
Yeah.
So, but Herodotus,
like Herodotus. Yeah,
Herodotus. So your brother's an intellectual, I'm guessing.
Oh, absolutely.
So what does he do?
Well, he is a student. He's a graphic designer, but he's studying creative nonfiction and journalism.
Okay, yeah, so he's an intellectual. See, he's Andy 2.0.
No, he's the intellectual. He's me if I was not a fantasy writer, like if I wrote smart stuff.
So, hey, Rebekah, does he have Asperger's disease as well, or
Asperger's syndrome, Stevie? It's not Asperger's disease.
It might as well be. No, I'm kidding. You heard the second person to correct me on that, and I'm just like, what's the difference? Come, you know what I mean. He's got ass, all right?
Yeah, no, he would be, what do they call a neurotypical, I believe.
Neurotypical, so he is, I'm guessing, introverted.
No, so a neurotypical is someone who sort of has the baseline neurology without any disorders or syndromes or mental health disorders like depression or chronic stress or things like that. Just typical.
Sounds like he's a lucky dude.
He could be. I like my brain just as much. Thank you very much.
Yeah. You know, I would describe Lisa as that too. Just like never goes one way or the other. I always feel like, oh, Lisa, I'm feeling so anxious today. And when she gets home and she has a bad day, she'll explode it out on me, and then boom, it's done. She's like, "What do you want for dinner?" I'm like, "I'm still getting over the ride over here, you know." Oh, and real quick, you know, when I was saying that the author business is not glamorous, something else I wanted to add: it may not be glamorous to people on the outside, but if you're in our heads, like we're in distant worlds, people, we're in other worlds up here. And so when I'm done writing, it feels like I am transporting back into the world, and I'll look up and I'm kind of bored. So I'll put on like TV or Bob's Burgers or something because it's too quiet. I don't know. It's probably just me. I'm just a weirdo. Rebekah, we really want to hear you. I want to hear you breathe.
Hi, guys.
Oh, I hear.
Hey, Rebekah, glad you could make it.
I guess my connection's a little bit bad. You guys keep sounding like, spastic robots.
Oh. We are actually spastic robots.
Yeah. We are robots.
That explains it. See, I was thinking maybe it'd be Stevie, but Andy also sounded a bit weird today.
Yeah.
is this our first time meeting on live, Rebekah?
On the live video, yeah.
Nice to meet you, Rebekah.
I have no clue what you said.
Oh, so I must sound. So is it like really distorted?
I'm gonna pull a Stevie here. Hold on.
Okay, she's pulling a Stevie. So Andy, let us move gears over to the topic of today. Do we have a topic about the topic? Like
we have a topic about the topic.
The topic of the topic.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
topical.
No. So the topic is survivor's guilt, which is a really interesting factor that is very prevalent in the Silent Champion series. So Shields and Shadow opens up ambush, just right. Literally, the opening word is ambush, and basically the captain watches his whole company get slaughtered, and he dies or thinks he dies, and then he wakes up and turns out he survived. Everybody else he's ever served with there in that company is dead. He survives. So there is a certain degree of guilt that comes from this being the only survivor. A lot of people associate survivor's guilt with PTSD, and it's usually connected. It's not always, they don't always go together, but they're often very strongly associated because PTSD is a reaction to traumatic events, just like survivor's guilt. It's this sort of illogical emotion that sets into the brain as a result of this super traumatic, both emotionally and physically, event.
Do you think there's any validity behind their feelings of feeling this way?
Oh, 100%, because you survived. Everybody else died. So it's when you get into the validity or not of it's kind of, it's questioning the source of feelings, the root of feelings, where feelings come from. But at the core of it, you feel this feeling of guilt because you survived and everyone else died. Now, you have no power, or you may have had no power in the situation. But that's the thing with guilt, is that it's often very irrational.
So I'm guessing this happened in your book.
Yeah, sorry. Kelly just posted this line, which was hilarious. I loved that one. He's convalescing in bed, and he's talking with the guy who's taking care of him, and he's sort of like bitter about it, and he's like, "I'm dead. Stop caring for me," or whatever. I don't remember exactly what it was. And the guy says, "My condolences on your untimely demise." Basically, playing with the fact that the world believes he's dead.
Yeah. Okay. And so he's saying that because he feels bad.
Well, he's just agreed to keep on pretending that he's dead.
Okay. You know what? Why don't you tell our listeners what the book's about first, like the series? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the Silent Champions, basically the character Captain Erevan, his company gets wiped out. The world believes he's dead, that he died in this ambush. And the Duke, the most powerful Duke in the Prince Lands, comes to him and says, "Look, we're putting together this special fighting force that can operate behind the scenes like any special ops team. We want you to be the captain because, you've got a good track record. Your father was a hero of the Prince Lands, and, I have a personal connection with you. I can trust you. And the world believes you're dead. So as long as you remain in this role as the commander, you are dead. Erevan is dead." And so he's got to pretend this. So they all wear these masks that hide their face. They can't ever take their masks off. They're only supposed to communicate with the captains, the highest rank officers of the whatever battalions or companies they're working with, to avoid getting discovered. So it sort of plays off of the modern thing of, like, when you're a member of SEAL team, you don't actually tell people that. Like this was something that I watched in the SEAL team show, where they don't tell people, that they're being deployed, or they can't tell their family members where they're being deployed, or that they're, they know that they're traveling, but that's all they know. And so there's a lot of operational secrecy and security around these things.
So why would he want to stay hidden? Does he not have a family?
He does have a family. He has a wife and two sons. And so this is a factor that plays into a lot of his guilt over choosing this thing. Is, number one, his country needs him, right? And as a soldier, or as this type of soldier character, that's a very driving factor, that he is needed for service and he's being chosen. So there is this burden of command, which is a very heavy burden. He's like, it happens a lot where he's weighing up the decisions that he has to make, because if he fucks up, people die, not just his his 6 soldiers, but hundreds or thousands of soldiers that he's fighting beside, or he's trying to save, or things like that.
So he has chosen the army. Is it the army? So
yeah, the Legion of Heroes.
The Legion of Heroes over his wife and son.
Yes and no. He's already been in the Legion of Heroes for he's a like 15-year veteran.
Okay.
And so he's been away from home for the most part. You're posted to a garrison, or you're posted to a company, or wherever. So he's been away for a long time. So he hasn't, he goes home and visits as many times as he can, or as often as he can get leave, which in this Legion, it's not very often. So he's already done the thing of being away. And so when he makes this decision to stay dead to the world, it's a sacrifice for him. He knows it's going to hurt his family, but because of this demand, like the need for it, he's willing to do it.
I guess in a way it's also helping his wife and son.
Well, the Duke says, look, we'll take care of them. We'll make sure they have everything they need, which they're not lacking. He's the son of a former general who's been basically awarded, it's called the Sword of the Prince Lands, which is like the Medal of Valor. And it comes with not only like the prestige, but it also comes with an estate and sort of a stipend, basically. It's almost like they become nobles in a certain degree. So he's got like his family's already taken care of in that sense. But the Duke says, I'll make sure that they have everything they need, for as long as you stay dead. And then once the mission's done, once the war is over, however long that's going to be, then you can come back to life. You can tell your family, reveal yourself to them, essentially.
This reminds me of that really horrible story of I'm trying to look for it now. It was that, I don't think I'm going to be able to find it. Lisa would know, but it's that time where it was a group of people and they had to traverse through a blizzard and they got stuck. And so they had to eat each other. So they drew.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, on the mountaintop.
Exactly. And if they had just listened to the people who'd stayed, they would have all survived. But since they left, they had to eat each other. And I think what they did was if somebody died, they would eat them. I don't think they ever had to kill somebody. But I'm wondering, the point of that is, these people who survive, does it only have to be one person, or can it be more than one person that feels this?
Well, it's so each character has their own struggles, right? For one of the characters, for Colborne, it's almost a relief, because his issue is the father who raised him hated him. He's a half Roman-esque, so that's the Princelanders are like the Romans and the Felons the Vikings. So he's half Roman, half Viking, and it was not obviously a happy union. Mm-hmm. And so that's his thing. His father just abused him horribly in terrible ways. I actually just wrote a little short story about it for Michael Evans' charity anthology, and you see the kind of shit that he had to put up with. And so for him, the day he was old enough to join the Legion of Heroes, he was out the door, and he's worked his way up to become lieutenant, but that's as high as he's going to get because he's a half-breed. So he's never going to be trusted to become a captain or a commander or a general. So for him, being able to join this company is a way out of sort of the shit that he's had to deal with. It's not necessarily a way up, but it's a new opportunity that he would never have had if he stayed in the Legion.
And this is Erevan?
This is Lieutenant Colborne. Okay. Erevan is the main character.
Another one.
Yeah, so there's seven people chosen for this team. And what's cool about this is that this team was built specifically based around a modern special ops team. So the person who I was talking to for research, he was saying that everybody in the team serves two purposes. Their main role and then one other. So, for example, Colborne, the lieutenant, number one, he's like the soldier, right? He's all around like the rifleman of the team. You know, he's got a gun, or in this case, sword and shield. He's reliable. Yeah, exactly. The lieutenant. He's also replacement officer if something happens to Erevan, and he's also, you know, a sounding board for Erevan. He's also a scout, and he's a tracker, and he's an archer. Like, he is probably the most versatile of all of them. But then you have Noel, who is the scout. His main purpose is scouting, but he can also work as a sniper or an archer. The heavy gunner
with the bow. I'm
yeah,
guessing.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Everything is translated into fantasy.
Yeah.
So the heavy gunner, there's no guns, but he's a giant with, you know, a massive axe. And that's his main purpose. But then he gets this massive crossbow that he can use, not exactly like a sniper because he's not really accurate with it, but he can do a lot of damage like that. Mm-hmm. And then the medic of the team, he's also like a rifleman. He can fight with sword and shield. So every character serves two purposes. They're interchangeable, so the team is never lacking if one of them goes down. That's how special ops teams are built these days.
And they're built how?
Where every person can be used in multiple positions. So the sniper may also be a great scout, or the heavy gunner is also the communications person, and then the communications person also knows the medic stuff, and the medic can also work as explosives or things like that. So like everybody is dual functional. They each have their specific role in the team, and yet they can do something else as well. So the team is never lacking.
One is the monk who had his tongue taken out, right?
That one is the explosives expert.
Okay. And what is his other things that he can do?
So he's basically an explosives expert, but then he can also he's communications. He's the one who teaches them sign language so they can talk in silence. Cool. Yeah, it was so cool because when I had originally created him as a secret keeper, I had established that secret keepers had their tongues cut out. Yeah. And I knew I wanted him because secret keepers are alchemists, so he plays with explosives. And then when I realized that he was a mute, he talks in sign language, boom, right there you have the team. They have an entire way to communicate amongst each other in silence. So they can carry on entire conversations in the middle of an army in sign language. Or whether they're sneaking up on an enemy, they can talk in sign language.
Wasn't there a character who spoke in sign language in Heirs of Destiny?
Yes, another secret keeper. Basically, every secret keeper is going to talk in sign language because they all have their tongues ripped out.
That's right.
Yeah,
it's all connected. That's cool.
The secret keeper also does a backup as a medic because he knows alchemy. And
yeah, exactly. He does sort of back up as a medic. He can't do healing to the extent that the main medic does, the healer with the magical stones. But yeah, he knows enough about he's got enough knowledge of herbology. I mean, his field of expertise is botany and herbology, so he can whip up all kinds of alchemical things to help speed up the healing and stuff.
Rebekah, what was your favorite part of the story?
Probably all the explosions. All the explosions and the constant back and forth interaction between the characters. I mean, each of these characters are one, you kind of have to ask yourself, how are these people working together? And two, it's like, why are they working? And all of that slowly comes out through the entire series, and I absolutely love it. Like the Archer's backstory just finished coming out in book 4, which I read today, and wow,
that was a really fun reveal to finally drop that in there.
I've only been hitting at it for like 2 books now, so I was happy to finally get there.
Yeah, so you pretty much know you don't know what happened to her, but it's pretty clear what happened to her. But then when you actually hear it, it's this whole other degree of both awful and awesome for her as a person that makes her so much more interesting in that one.
Yeah. And the reason she's in the show, you like that? The reason she's in the group and dead to everyone else. I really liked that part. Go figure.
The Secret Keeper?
No, the archer.
Oh, okay. So you found out her backstory in book 4.
Yeah. The Secret Keeper's backstory comes out like all of a sudden due to a mishap in, what was it, book 2, right? Yeah.
Fairly early in book 2, both the Secret Keeper and Belthar. So each of the characters kind of gets their time in the sun. Book 1 is much more focused on Erebon because he hasn't bonded with the other members of the team yet. So he doesn't, like, they don't open up to him as freely. There's a couple of little moments in there, like in fairly early in the book. Colborne, the lieutenant's talking to him, and he's, saying, so what's it like to be the son of a hero? And then he has this throwaway line like, fathers, who needs them? And it just gives you this little hint about what his deal is and, what his problems may be. But then in book 2, his whole damage comes out in a really visceral, really visual way that I think you suggested this, Rebekah, the way that it comes out in Battle for Peace.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so that was thanks to Rebekah for that suggestion, because I loved that weird, awful, grisly visual that comes right after the battle. Like, it's totally unrelated to the battle because the battle's been over for a few hours, but then it's just right there.
This
breakdowns usually happen.
Yep, exactly.
This new character you're talking about, where they come in and they don't tell their backstories. Do they not ask because they think he might die?
No. So the way it works is that, so this is what my research has indicated, is that soldiers don't give a shit about the backstory first. What matters first and foremost is that they prove themselves as a soldier. When it comes to these elite teams, I don't know about, in like army units and stuff, but when it comes to these elite teams, the first thing they want to know is, why are you here in terms of your skill set? So this is what this one person who I did research with, he was telling me that is the first thing that they have to do is sort of prove themselves as soldiers. And then once there's, the sort of the team cohesiveness, the team bond, then they start opening up little bits and pieces about their lives. But it's not like you're going to sit around saying, so, here's what happened to me when I was 12 years old, and now it leads me to feel like this. Like, it's not who these elite warriors are. It's going to be much more little bits and pieces, things that come out through conversation, things that come out in moments of extreme stress, things like that. So a number of reviewers have complained or have stated that there's not a lot of character development in book 1. And I can agree with that, because you can't have a lot of character development in book 1 to the same extent. Like, there's a lot going on with Erebon and his dealing with his survivor's guilt and a little bit of PTSD and the burden of command and trying to sort of assert his authority, not in a bad way, but, take command of this team. And once that's done, once he's proven himself to them as a commander, as a soldier, as a tactician, then he's got this sort of moral authority over them, where when one of them's got something going on, he can go in and he can say, look, let's deal with this. Let's face it head on.
Also, I would argue that in book 1, you maybe you don't have individual character development, but you have team development. The team as a unit develops. In the beginning, they're not working so well together.
Yeah.
But at the end of book 1, they're flowing together like, a well-oiled machine, which is what they should be. And, one of the great and horrible things about working with elite soldiers is most of them are really friggin' smart.
Yeah.
So any little hint of an idea, they're going to remember that forever. Or they'll take tiny little things that they hear from the other person and piece them together.
Yeah.
Accents, slangs, things like that. They'll start narrowing in on the other person, who they are as a person, where they came from. And that's what Andy was able to do in his book. It is a bit subtle because everything is subtle until it's boom in your face.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of like fireweed.
Did anyone else pick up on the team development over the character development?
Regine commented that the team dynamic is a character in itself, which is very true when it comes to these kind of things. Because as soon as you have like so in back to the TV show SEAL Team, where at the end of season 1, going into season 2, the lieutenant sort of support character, the number 2, in a way sort of concealed something important from the number 1, the captain. So it shakes this team dynamic up, and they're kind of off. So the guy's like, look, I can't have this in my team. You're out of our team, right? And so the team dynamic, the way that these characters interact with each other, the way that one of them automatically assumes the more dominant or submissive role, or the one who's, the intellectual or tactical support, or, like just the way that this team comes together is super important for the success of the team. Because if anyone starts to question the captain's orders in a very noticeable or meaningful way, there's hesitation, and hesitation gets you killed in a life or death thing. So everything I tried to do with this series was make it clear that Erevan was open about his limitations or his failings as a captain, to show that, to sort of establish this trust with his soldiers. Like anytime he's uncertain, actually in the opening part of book 2, the Duke gives him this impossible mission, and the whole traveling chapters is him struggling to figure out how the fuck they're going to do this something. It's basically 300 men have to take on 3,000. How is that going to happen? Impossible. So he's got no idea how to do it. So at the beginning, he's just, imploding quietly on his own. And then one of the characters comes up and says, it's not all on you. And so he opens up a little bit, and then another one of the characters says, okay, this, and then the other character. And so it builds on itself. It creates this sort of this rolling boulder of momentum as more and more, as he opens up to them, they open up to him. And so that's why I think books 2 through 4 were so long, is because in book 1 you were really focused on the team and on the mission and driving things forward. But then in book 2 I could start diving into the characters a lot more, because there had been this bond of trust established. And so you get that sort of like how in Bloody Rose in the beginning, you've got the first 30% going through the gladiators and the arenas and all of that, and then finally, once you've established the way the team works, the dynamic, then you get into the character description. And that's where the book, I feel, for me, that's when the book really opened up and the stories became so much more real.
And I don't think you have to worry about people's like, oh, there's not enough character development, because it is military fantasy. So I think people are going to see that already. You know what I mean? Especially since you did your research with somebody, I'm guessing, who was in special forces.
Yeah, he was the sniper.
Jesus, we need to have him on the show too.
Well, I don't know if he can be on the show.
Oh,
because
that's a big fat maybe there.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, and I don't want to ask, because it's it could be a problem.
Is it okay?
Let's not go risking people's lives, Stevie.
Exactly.
What'd you say?
Let's not go risking people's lives.
Yeah, you're right. I don't want like the FBI. I don't know who would show up on that person's door. Might be a whole. Never mind. I was gonna bring up Epstein, but okay.
Worried more about foreign actors, but I like how you immediately jumped to the FBI is gonna show up and kill this guy.
That's all I know. I'm ignorant when it comes to people getting killed by other people.
Oh yeah. Al Qaeda's been threatening U.S. soldiers' families from like the get-go.
Yep.
What? That's
welcome to the world, TV.
Yeah, that's stuff you don't see on Reddit.
And this is why they have to keep their identities a secret, because there is this threat. So this is actually something that I sort of discovered, or I learned, or I sort of realized in the course of the series, is that a nameless, faceless grunt in an army is not really at risk, because you're not going to pick out one guy from among a whole battalion of 1,000 and say, I'm going to go after his family. It's not like it's a low level grunt isn't going to do damage. But as soon as you get to, a ranking officer, a higher level officer, or someone who is sort of individualized in their excellence in the army, that's when it becomes a danger. And so that was actually something that I wrote into, some part of the story, where the character, he's like, look, you've got nothing to worry about. You're just a grunt in the army. but then, you know, I have something that I have to worry about because I'm, you know, one of the silent champions.
Which is another reason why I thought you decided to make all of them, they're all dead men. Everyone in this group is dead, as far as the rest of the world knows. They're all dead. So why would you threaten a dead man's family?
Exactly. That's I mean, and that's what the Duke pitches to him basically in the beginning.
Yep.
Like Kelly said, it's almost like blackmail. You're going to be doing this thing. Your family's going to be in danger. Stay dead.
Yeah.
Be dead.
I would say extortion, not blackmail.
I kind of like, yeah, but it was kind of a fun way where it wasn't strong arm, but it was a little bit of like moral extortion. Like, we need you. You have to do this. You're the best one for it. Kind of pushing, you know, playing with the screws.
And see, now that makes even more sense to me. You know, she's eating my hair. Hold on, monkey. It makes even more sense to me now. So when we started, you know, and I was like, oh wow, he gave up his family for this. Now I see it even clearer now. Like, man, yeah. So he's actually protecting them in a way.
Yeah,
they all are.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's the only one with like real family. But then you find out that each of them has their own connections, and you know that give them their reasons to stay to join the Silent Champions, to stay dead, to stay hidden, things like that. And so they are definitely, each one of them becomes this complex, fascinating character by the end of the series. Like each one of them started out, it's very like the big guy, for example, Belthar, right? Big guy, big axe, big heart, pretty standard character profile. But then as you dive into him a little bit more in the course of book 2, he's picking locks. How the shit is someone with hands like this picking locks? How does he know about secret tunnels that shouldn't exist? How does he know about this or that? And so this layer of complexity, and then you find out more and more and more and more. And so by the end of book 3 or book 4, he's this totally different character than you originally met at the beginning, because over the course of all these weeks of traveling together, he's opened up a lot more about himself. And it's not just like one character exposition, it's tiny little bits and pieces. And that's really how Soldiers would do it. And so this was a challenge for me. And it's why the books ran so long, is because each of the characters needed these little moments in the sun in each book, and little moments in the shadow where they suffer or where they feel the pain, or where they're hiding themselves from each other and trying to protect their hearts or their whatever. And then it takes time for them to slowly open up to each other. And then they become this team of just total badasses that, you know, some people are afraid of plot armor. I'm afraid of plot armor too. But at the same time, when you think about how effective they are at what they're doing, it steers away from plot armor, and it's just elite warriors, super effective at fighting.
Interesting. So, why don't we take a little taste of this literature?
So I sent you a scene. Yeah,
I got to be proper now.
You gotta read the book, man.
This is a serious part. I'm still on Heirs of Destiny. I haven't opened up a regular book in like a month and a half. It's sad. I've just been so busy writing stuff.
That's totally normal.
That's the irony, right?
Yeah. Rebekah, do you think your connection's good enough to read, or
I think she's gone.
Yeah, I think so. Stevie, why don't you read Noel, or Rebekah, are you back?
I'm trying.
Okay. Do you think your connection's good enough to read one of the characters?
What are we reading from?
I sent you a snippet this morning.
Snippet to read. See it now.
Yeah.
Okay. Who do you want me to read?
You're reading Scothy.
Wait. And Stevie's gonna be Noel, so I can like make fun of him?
Absolutely. Stevie, why don't you also do Eravon? So Eravon is Captain America, essentially.
Okay.
Think of him as handsome and heroic.
Oh,
Noel is a little skeezy. He's a scout, right? So the scouts, they live on the wilds. They spend more time away and riding in the forests and, landscape alone than in the company of fellow soldiers. So they are definitely a breed apart. So let's see what you can do with him, all right?
Okay, I gotta get the cat down. Okay, monkey, get down. Get down. I'm sorry, baby. Oh, you're heavy. Okay. I'm allergic to cats. It's all over me. Okay, so Erebon, Captain America, Noel, Star-Lord.
No, Star-Lord is too charming.
Okay, too charming. Okay, so like a more slippery Star-Lord.
Yeah, exactly. Think of your classic sort of thiefy character. Shifty-eyed, suspicious. He just happens to be a scout.
Okay, I can do that.
All right.
Erebon and
Noel.
Noel.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Erebon drew in a deep breath, sighted on the butt, and released the bowstring. He bit back a frustrated growl as the arrow flew wide. Out of 15 arrows, he hit the target with 8 and only come close to the bullseye once. He'd never been a great shot, but he ought to be better than that. Drawing again, he took his time to loose the arrow. Again, it flew wide.
Who's this?
Rebekah.
Okay.
And she dropped. So Stevie, or I'll read Scothy.
Okay.
The problems with your arm. Erebon glanced over his shoulder. Scothy sat on a bench just outside the archery yard, a green apple in one hand and a knife in the other.
What's that?
The red-haired woman cut a long strip of peel and stuffed it into her mouth. Tucking the knife away, she stood and walked over to him. Your left arm, she said, around a mouthful of apple peel. It's throwing everything off. Taking a noisy bite of the fruit, she circled to his left side. Look here, your elbow's rotated wrong. She held out her own left arm and twisted it so the elbow was straight up and down. That's what it's supposed to look like. Erebon looked at his own elbow. It refused to rotate fully, a consequence of his injury.
What can I do about it?
Turn the elbow.
Turn the elbow.
Okay, good. Scotty shoved an errant strand of hair behind her ear. The wind tugged it free a moment later, but she ignored it.
Or, if it comes to it, aim a bit off center. Do it again.
Erebon knocked an arrow and drew the string to his ear.
That's another problem.
Scotty
You never
said.
pull it that far back. Too much strain in your arms and it throws off your aim.
She tapped the right corner of his mouth.
That's where you want to anchor your shot, right in line with your eye.
Erebon adjusted according to her instructions.
How's that?
Better.
She gripped his elbow.
Can you turn it any more than this?
He tried and shook his head. She mused.
That'll put your aim a bit to the right. That means you need to by pulling left, but just a hair.
Erebon corrected and glanced at her.
Better?
He asked, gritting his teeth. The muscles in his arms, shoulders, and back shivered with the effort of holding the bow drawn. Scotty grinned.
Loose and find out.
With a gasp, Erebon released. The bowstring twanged and the arrow streaked toward the butt, where it thunked into the target just outside the bullseye. Not bad, Scotty nodded. All right, Rebekah, I'll just read Scotty because the connection's a little wonky. That elbow is going to make accuracy damn difficult, but with a bit of practice, you ought to be able to hit close enough every time. Erebon couldn't help smiling. For the last 2 days of practice, he'd worried that this would be something else his injury would prevent him from doing. But to hear that he could master it with practice.
Thank you,
he said. You got it, Captain. Scotty smiled. For a moment, her hard facade cracked, and he caught a glimpse of genuine warmth. Anytime you need help, you know where to find me.
And where will that be?
Creepy voice.
Oh, and where will that be?
A new voice cut into the conversation.
In my dreams?
Very creepy. Love it. Scotty's expression froze and her eyes went cold. Hard. Erebon turned.
Noel, isn't it your turn to cook?
Noel shook his head.
You can thank the swordsman it isn't.
His gaze went to Scothy, and he studied her with the look of a buyer examining a broodmare.
Not only do we have a half-decent meal, but it means I get to spend more time with this beautiful thing.
A shadow passed over Scothy's face, but instead of confronting Noel, as doubtless she wanted to, she strode toward the racks upon which hung the assortment of bows. She lifted a longbow, another weapon modeled after the Aird Killers, and a quiver filled with 20 broadhead arrows.
Hey, dollface,
Noel said, sliding up beside her.
Don't ignore me like this. You know you can't resist my charms.
Scothy ignored him and turned back to the archery range.
Tell you what.
Noel picked up a bow and a quiver.
So am I, where I'm from. Oh,
what?
Sorry. I'll make you a bet. You agritorare. You agritore are famous for your shootings.
He gave her a confident grin.
So am I. Where I'm from. So am I where I'm from.
Scothy met his gaze. How nice. She pushed past him.
Nice.
There you go. She pushed past him, but he gave chase.
Look, the terms are simple. You put more arrows into the bullseye than me, I leave you alone. But if I win, you join me in my room for a drink tonight.
He winked.
What do you say?
Scothy shook her head.
Waste of my time.
What?
Noel spoke in a voice loud enough for the men in the training yard to overhear.
Unless you're afraid you can't beat me.
Scothy turned. Fire burned in her eyes, but she spoke in a quiet voice.
I fear nothing.
Then take the bet.
Noel spoke in a wheedling tone.
If I win, you don't speak to me for a week.
Ouch.
Noel gave her a hurt look.
That's harsh.
Those are my terms.
Scothy replied, folding her arms.
Take them or leave me alone.
A grin broadened Noel's hawkish face.
I'll take them.
Scothy stepped aside.
Show me how it's done then.
Head held high, his expression confident, Noel set his quiver against the marker post and nocked an arrow.
Watch this.
He loosed. The arrow smacked into the center of the target.
Ha!
He crowed.
And that's how you do it.
One more?
Scothy asked, her voice innocent.
Ooh, can't help yourself, can you?
Noel's eyes sparkled as he drew another arrow, aimed and loosed.
2 for 2, dead center.
Scothy frowned.
Not quite dead center.
Noel squinted at the target.
Course it is.
Eravon studied it.
Just a hair off there, Noel.
Little Scout threw up his hands.
Close enough, Captain.
He turned to Scothy.
Want me to show you again?
Scothy gave him a sweet smile.
No, I think I've seen enough.
She set down her bow and removed her jacket. Eravon couldn't help staring. She wore a sleeveless vest that revealed the strong curves of her shoulders and arms that even Belthar would envy. Her back was broad, with tanned muscles that rippled as she drew the bowstring to her chin and loosed. The arrow sped toward the target and buried itself in the dead center, next to Noel's first shot. Noel opened his mouth, but Scothy didn't give him a chance to speak. Her hands flashed as she drew, knocked, and loosed over and over. 19 arrows thunked into the target. Only one hit dead center, but every one of them was perfectly aimed. They formed a perfect X on the butt, a message that even Noel couldn't ignore. Eravon glanced at her quiver.
You've one left.
He had no trouble imagining where she wanted to put it, a place Noel would find quite uncomfortable. She shook her head.
Agator, superstition. Never fire your last arrow. It's bad luck to have an empty quiver.
Noel's mouth still hung open. With a scowl for the little man, Scothy strode to the rack, replaced her bow and quiver, and left the archery yard. Eravon gave Noel an angry shake of his head.
One of these days, Noel, you're gonna piss off the wrong person.
He stalked away, leaving the speechless scout alone.
Really good. Really good.
And so this is the perfect example of everything that Scothy has had to deal with her entire life as an Agritore. So basically, the Agritore are archers that are not part of the Legion. They're like an attached company. So the Agritore, there's about 2,500 of them on the continent of Fel, and they go with the Legion as they're deployed. So when they're going with the high chance of going to battle, they send 500 of them, and they're professional, they're soldiers, they're extremely well trained and accurate, but they're not soldiers in the sense they're not legionnaires. So there is this sort of the legionnaires look down on them, and the fact that they're women is another mark against them. And so there was another scene where it's talking about how the scouts, who are kind of wild, they end up pushing their luck with the Agritore, and they have to fight them off essentially. So between those things, you can see pretty clearly what Scothy's had to deal with her whole life in the military, and it's turned her into the person she is. She starts off kind of as your quintessential strong woman character in the fact that, she doesn't need any help. She tells people to fuck off and leave her alone, things like that. But then over the course of the books, it sort of not twists the trope on its head, but it gives a look underneath that trope, and it explains the things that would make it. And so the trope becomes a very real character portrayal.
I was going to say, have you seen you've seen Step Brothers, right?
Yes.
That scene reminded me of when Will Ferrell's trying to seduce the psychiatrist. That's what that reminded me of. So if Averon is his name? Eravon is like talking to Noel, and he's like, man, she hates you. And Noel would be like, oh, she's a rascal.
Yeah.
I would love to see a relationship with, I know probably not. See, in my book, I'd probably create some crazy relationship later on, but I don't know, Andy. But real quick, what I was going to say, the way the difference between a beginner author and a very advanced author, and now I'm blowing a little smoke up your ass. There's difference, and I saw it right away when Andy said wrote in his book, "You never release that last arrow; it's bad luck." That to me is the difference between a beginning author and a very high advanced author, because small things like that they don't just put in there. It takes a lot of thought. It's something the reader skims right over and they don't understand that's a really good detail in a book, and if you sprinkle a lot of this in, it really increases the value of that novel. It's a lot of time. It's really good lore. I don't know, it's something that really stood out to me. It's it's really good.
Everyone has their own customs and superstitions, and it makes them more human. It makes the world more of a world instead of just a landscape for a book to happen on top of.
Yeah, Rebekah,
Andy integrates everything, including the friggin' grasses, into his book.
That was fun. Did you finish book 4 yet, Rebekah?
No, I did not finish book 4 today. The hospital was not pleasant.
Okay, so
and then obviously Dorian started moving in.
Yeah, there you go. So in true Andy Peliquin fashion, that single throwaway statement pays off at the end of the book.
Really?
Okay. In this wicked way that you will never see coming. And then when you get to the end of the book, if you ever read it again and you see this, you'll find this one piece in book 1, one piece in book 2, one piece in book 3, and then massive payoff at the end of book 4. And that's
I
how
thought it had a pretty good payoff in book, dude. End of book 3 also brought it up.
It uses it in the sense of she's going to run out of arrows and she's always keeping one. But then there's this one moment of payoff at the end of book 4.
She ended up doing and almost doing it. It's right there. And now I need to finish book 4 tonight. Thanks.
Book 4.
I'm about a third way through it. So.
Wow. Yeah, you got about 800,000 pages to read.
Wow.
Yeah, but I only need 4 more hours.
That's true. That's true.
Well, Andy, I think that's it for this podcast. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. For those of you who are watching and who follow me on Facebook or who are members of the Indie Fantasy Addicts group or Fantasy Focus or on my newsletter, tonight I'm going to be posting in all of those places where you can input your information to claim the prize for the pre-order and the promo purchase rewards. So go and pop onto Facebook at some point in the evening and you'll find those links to sign up, because I'm going to be sending out those prizes tomorrow and it's going to be awesome.
Awesome. And who are we having next week?
And
sorry. Go ahead, Rebekah.
I actually wanted to do one thing, Stevie.
Yeah. Ooh, hey, I like that. That
This
is
showed up
beautiful.
in the mail.
Oh,
And
you got it.
this is
Okay,
my
cool.
husband's copy. But he signed my name too. Aww.
And I wrote some Japanese in there.
Yes, you did.
Yeah,
I have
was
no
hoping-
clue what the Japanese is.
So you got 2 copies.
Yep, and well, I mean, basically it's my copy and his copy. And I thought this was adorable. If anyone's seen this in the front of his book.
What part is that? I forgot what that is.
So now I saw it. It's your prehistoric animals, such as dinosaurs.
Oh yeah, so that's a drawing. My brother he has drawings in the book. So thank you so much, Rebekah. That's so nice of you. I'm glad you guys like it. Sorry it took so long to get that to you. If you're watching, it's because Rebekah and Najeen were.
I got here just in time for my husband not to be able to hold it and lift it.
Well, guys, thanks again for those Japanese dictionaries. I really appreciate that. Andy, who are we having next week?
We are going to have the awesome RG/Ronald Long. His author name is RG Long, but his name's Ronald.
Familiar.
Yeah, he just put out his 12th book in his, I think it's the Gilia series, Legends of Gilia or something like that. So it's going to be interesting to talk to him next week.
Awesome. Well, Rebekah, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Pleasure meeting you.
And for kicking ass.
I kept falling off.
No, you're good. You're good. We've had worse. Trust me. Quick updates. Remember, if we hit 500 subscribers right now, the idea is that Andy and I are going to be doing the podcast shirtless.
Whose idea was this?
Dude, you said it. Remember? And y'all said I had to wear a Speedo or whatever.
I said you had to wear a Speedo, Stevie.
I
never said that I had to do anything.
Pretty sure I'll get kicked off YouTube. But it's something. We're going to do something big for 500. Maybe we'll do like a poll or something. Another thing is I am...
Andy has to wear Stevie's Speedo on his head.
Yes, let me wear it for a week, and then you wear it on your head.
That's disgusting. Hard pass.
Yeah, Simply Stevie is the eau de parfum. Simply Stevie. So anyway, that's it for the updates. Again, if you're on iTunes or whatever, I am updating all of those podcasts for you guys. It's just taking forever, but a lot have been uploaded today. Andy, anything else?
That's it. I mean, go check out Shields and Shadow if you haven't already.
Awesome.
It's a hell of a fun story. I had so much fun writing it, so hopefully that comes through.
Great. Well, awesome. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today at the Fantasy Fiends podcast. Remember that we love you all. We hope you have a wonderful night. We'll see you next Thursday for RJ Long. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.